Aztec was one of the largest villages in this entire area. It is located between Chaco National Monument near Farmington, New Mexico, and Mesa Verde Monument near Cortez, Colorado. Both cultures are embedded in Aztec. In addition to those extensive ruins, Aztec has the only fully restored kiva in the United States. At Aztec Ruin, there are 12 kivas with one Great Kiva. Fundamental to their religion is the creation of the universe, earth, and life. The latter evolved in 4 phases, as detailed in the text introduction to this video. The last phase is emerging to the surface from the underground. Thus, a kiva is the foundation of their spiritual journey, from birth to death, where their spirit returns to the kiva and back to the underground to be with their ancestors and gods. Note, unless prohibited by stone or rock, kivas are dug into the ground, symbolizing people's emergence from the earth's interior. Entrance-exit is always from the top using a ladder. This is a sipapu, located east of the Grand Canyon along the river. Every year, the shaman from Hopi Indian villages go down and visit it. This is what the inside of a kiva looks like. The center is the sipapu, but in reality, during ceremonies, it is a fire hole, and the hole in the back is where the air comes in and it's blocked or diffused to allow the fire itself to continue. This is very typical. Entry is normally through the roof, symbolizing how the people emerge to the surface of the earth, and then of course here back down. And where it's not possible to dig a deep hole, in small ruins like this one, they still have the kiva in the same basic design, roof entry via a ladder. And this is just a beautiful picture. Notice the roof, how it's supported with the diagonal logs in the back. Very impressive. And this is the big guy in Chaco Culture National Park. It is huge. The entry is from the bottom, as you can see, and it is 64 feet in diameter, 15 feet deep. Look at the thickness of the wall and how the individual bricks are small and compacted. Remarkable. That's known as Chacan. This is the tour map extracted from a visitor guide available at the visitor center. It's very cheap, highly recommended. 3 and 4 are the Great Kiva. Number 9 is an old kiva, probably the first one in this area. And it winds its way through, and finally upper left-hand side is another kiva. This is the start of the tour. The flat land you see here was all leveled with basic tools. These people had no metal tool of any kind, no wheels for wheelbarrows, just baskets and manual labor, and of course no chisels. Now on the left is the Great Kiva, which we'll visit later in detail. And as we go around the path here, to the right are unexcavated mounds, which are the ruins. There's no date schedule as to when they will be excavated. Now look at all these ruins. Each ruin is made up of sandstone blocks that were carried from a quarry about 2 miles away. Hand cut, individually carried here. It's astounding. Now we're coming across this first kiva that is of enormous interest. This is our first kiva. Notice how deep it is. No shovels, no pickaxes, no wheelbarrows. The top layer has river rocks, and as you go down further, the craftsmanship increases to the bottom is almost a fine Chaco style. These are the ruins from east to west, and also known as the west side ruins. Now look at each of the bricks, let's call them. They were carried here from a quarry 2 miles away. They had to be cut from the sandstone, shaped, and individually carried here. Plus, they had to go to the river, create the mortar, and put them in place. Now notice the layer, the craftsmanship here is not excellent. If you look at the horizontal rows, they really aren't that defined as they are at, say, Hovenweep. Now this one is interesting because look at the river rocks up at the top left-hand side. No other one has this configuration. And again, they are not parallel. Anthropologist Earl Morris discovered a warrior's grave under the floor of a room. His body was wrapped in a feathered cloth. Along with many valuable artifacts was a highly decorated shield on his body. Dimensions were 36 inches long, 31 inches wide, made from coiled basketry. The outer layers were colored red and green. Also present were hammers, axes, and a red quartzite stone knife. Okay, we are entering the area of many kivas. The next one is the most elegant kiva in Aztec, at Aztec. Craftsmanship is exquisite, and it indicates the Chaco style of construction. Notice the brick sides. They are very narrow and try to be as horizontal as possible. And again, this was hand dug, 12, 15 feet into the earth with wooden sticks, no shovels. Now, to the right, we will see many, many kivas. Why there are a multitude of kivas is a mystery, as one or two or three should be adequate. Upper right-hand side, you see two logs exiting, which of course implies a roof at this level. And also notice this thin line. It appears that the construction to the left was done far later. And notice the holes in the back right-hand side. We'll talk about the holes later on. Notice the log, once again, protruding at the bottom. And notice, too late now. Now here we continue on the tour of the ruins. Now you see this T-shaped entry. It's only used on entries and nowhere else. Also found in Mexico. The construction here is quite better than before. Now, notice the logs protruding. Logs are not natural in this area. They have to go to Durango, Colorado, which is about 34 miles, individually cut them with some type of stone tool, individually carry them down here, and create a second floor foundation, of which, of course, more logs were placed. It is remarkable the amount of effort taken just to create these ruins. And notice how thick the walls are continually. In 1881, the ruins were covered by mounds of rubble. You could not see it. A local school teacher took a few of his students and they dug down through the rubble and found a room, dug a hole in the roof, and descended, exploring some rooms. They found, of course, artifacts, cloth, pottery, what have you. Also, dead people and children propped against a wall. Now notice right there in the center, that log was cut cleanly as if by saw. Now notice the holes in the right-hand side. Now in this room, notice a pole up on the right-hand side. Now we'll go back to the right here, and there's about 25 holes here. On the opposite wall, there are no holes. So what that infers is that when a pole broke, all they have to do is pull it out of here and lay it down on a flat ledge on the other side. If it were not for that, it would be a major problem to replace broken poles. Quite interesting, actually. Quite clever, too. Notice there's no holes up above. And that's the original pole. handhold, obviously. Again, notice the logs coming across. Now we're going to what's called a grain storage room. We assume there's grain. These entryways you see here, notice that ceiling? Original everything. These entryways were actually smashed through by pot hunters stealing everything they could. Later on, during restoration, the Park Service made these doorways. To the right was the entryway of interest. And we're about to exit what we call the storage room. Okay, we're at the north wall here, and this is probably the first wall that was ever built in this village. Notice a straight line. Now see the shadow? This is critical because on summer solstice, which is June 20th to 21st, there is no shadow. Otherwise, there always is. Now, in winter solstice, when the sun sets as opposed to here rises, also there is no shadow. Now, the solstice, it was very critical. At Hawley Ruin, at Hovenweep, there's a petroglyph that marks the summer solstice. The most complex astronomical structure is the Fajada Butte at Chaco Canyon. Multiple 2 to 3 meter high sandstone slabs are positioned where the sun beam records both solstice and both equinoxes. It's amazing evolution. Okay, now we're heading up to what is known as the Hubbard site. It was a separate site, about 64 feet in diameter, had 22 rooms. It was partially excavated in the 1920s and 50s, then in 53 more, and then it's backfilled. Notice the three-ring Kiva. The craftsmanship to construct this wall appears to be better than the other ones. Also notice that there are 2 rooms behind this front wall. Of interest is the green line. It extends all the way to the end, but there are 2, one in the center and one at the bottom. The line isn't perfectly straight, implying that the foundations have settled. And of course, on the other side of these ruins is the Grand Plaza. There's a stairwell that you see right here that goes to an overlook of that Grand Plaza. We suggest you go see it before doing the counterclockwise tour. Okay, now you can see the green line on the bottom is continuing, but not in the middle. There you see it better. And now in this final room, it wraps around and it's at the top and the middle both. The Kiva. The question was whether to restore it or just bury it. This was during the Depression when money was not available for such projects. Yet it was funded for $19,675. Today's price is about $500,000. All work was by hand, pickaxe, shovels, horses, and wagons, no machines. After digging it out, you could see the ruins of the individual rooms on the right-hand side. See the man standing in the far end? And this is how it looked after restoration with the logs in place for the roof. This is the largest restored kiva in U.S. Its inside dimension is 41 feet, 3.5 inches. That hole is 8 feet below ground level. Thus, over 2,148 yards of dirt were manually removed. This would require 180 large dump trucks, but compacted dirt expands to at least 3 times, therefore 540 truckloads. So how many baskets of this dirt were carried on a person's back somewhere? There are 14 of these rooms overlooking the Kiva, of which 12 are similar. One has a fireplace. So let's look inside. Meanwhile, continuing. The roof of this kiva is supported by 4 interior columns upon which huge logs extend outward as seen here. Cross-bedding of shorter logs on those extended logs becomes the roof's foundation. They were covered with shredded cedar bark and 12 inches of tamped earth. Total weight, about 95 tons. This is the entry room. The other entry is opposite of this one. The lower red color band resembles that color originally found in these ruins. The altar's purpose is unknown. The button you see later on activates a Pueblo drum chant music. Now, each of the 4 pillars below is 3 feet square, rising about 18 feet to support the massive roof. Each pillar is sunk 6 feet deep, resting on 4 circular slabs of stone we will see later. Next was the base of compact lignite, soft coal. Below that was cobblestone and archaeologists believe this kiva is aligned with the star Alkaid, that is the last star of the Big Dipper's handle, that is the north direction. During summer solstice, June 20th to 21st at sunrise, a beam of light appears from an opening in the east, settling between these 2 openings. In April 1938, more than 2,400 people participated in an Easter sunrise service available to all San Juan County religious organizations. Roof area is 1,832 square feet, which is the size of a large 2-bedroom house. There are 16 of these large discs, each weighing about 350 pounds. The limestone quarry is about 30 miles to the east, where they were cut and shaped. Now, how did they move them here? Pillar design. One long vertical log was not practical due to logistics of finding such a large pine and transporting it here. Also, unlike oak, pine is a soft wood with questionable durability. Therefore, multiple logs forming a single pillar was not a solution. This exposed engineering solution is pure brilliant, using no algebra calculations. It applies a mortar securing those wood poles. Each horizontal layer alternates at 90 degrees. This design was exceptionally durable and able to absorb the swaying movement of the 95-ton roof. There are 2 rectangle-shaped boxes that are found at many kivas. Their purpose ranges from loud drum effect of dancers on the boards to planting seedlings. It is a total mystery. A kiva fireplace functions as a sipapu and also hosts a fire. Normally it is at ground level, unlike this elevated structure of block and stone. Its size implies a massive flame that led archaeologist Earl Morris to be a fire altar, and its flame having a holy purpose. Climbing the stairs back into the alcove we initially entered. Obviously, this is the largest individual room in the kiva, therefore not a mere entry. After viewing the altar, resident archaeologist Earl Morris considered this room to be a shrine. The bench along the walls was further evidence that this room had a wholly specific purpose. One could also speculate that this was the shaman's holy cleansing preparation room before entering the kiva. Non-holy people would use the southern entry. The altar itself is a mystery, having vertical poles and a white circle. Clearly not a sacrifice altar as used by Mexico's Mayan and Aztec cultures.